a lab write-up for an experiment. Okay, you will have to carry out an experiment, and it will be it'll be something along the way that you've seen before. But if we look at this previous lab, there's a lot of things that some of you lost marks doing that were uselessly lost. Okay, like you lost marks for no reason. So let's make sure that doesn't happen next time around. First things first, you will always be asked to create an aim based on whatever situation you are told. Okay, so the aim, and whenever you're writing a lab, okay, you should have the headings for each part of the scientific method. Okay, and that first aim or problem statement, okay, it's what question are you trying to answer? What are you trying to accomplish during this lab? And that's usually one sentence or two. If it's worth 2 marks, I probably want more than we're trying to answer this question. Okay, I probably want a little bit more than that. Okay? So when we talk about the aim, it's what exactly are you trying to accomplish in this experiment. Followed always by a list of materials. During the lab exam, you will not be told what things are called. Okay, you need to know that now. Okay, you can't call it the thingy with the holes in it. That has a name. It's called a spot plate. We've been using these things so often that you should know what they're called now. And in order to see your materials, you will have everything that you need will be at your station. You will not need anything else. Okay? Everything will be at your station. In addition to being a comprehensive list of the materials you use, it needs to be in bullet or point form. Okay? It cannot be in a paragraph. All right? It's just word, line, word, line, word, line. You can make 2 little columns if you want. I don't care. But if it's in a little paragraph, you will lose marks. What comes next? What comes after materials? Procedure. I don't know that I gave any 5s on 5s here. Okay? First things first, no personal pronouns. When you are carrying out a procedure, when you're writing it out, think of yourself as giving orders. Do this first. Take this and put it here. You can write your entire procedure without having one personal pronoun in it. Okay? So a procedure is going to be a numbered list. 1, do this first. 2, do this. 3, do this. Okay? Not a paragraph and not just a bunch of hyphens. Okay? The problem with that is that if you say repeat for whatever, instead of rewriting it, if you don't have any numbers associated with those points, the reader and the marker, being me, isn't exactly 100% sure what message you're trying to relay. When I say a numbered step-by-step account, it's not enough for you to say, carry out the conductivity apparatus test. Okay, or test each sample with all 4 tests. Because that's what you had here. You had 4 tests in this lab. You had phenolphthalein, conductivity apparatus, you had magnesium, and you had pH paper, not litmus paper, which some of you called it litmus. We made that change, right? Now, it's not enough for you to say, do all 4 tests. You need to explain how somebody would do those tests. Okay? Take the conductivity apparatus and place it in, well number 1 of substance A in the spot tray. Record results. When you're done with the conductivity apparatuses, which a lot of you did not write, you need to rinse those suckers off. Okay, you will have distilled water at your table. You need to rinse that off, because if it goes into a conductive substance, that substance is still on those wires. You need to rinse it off with pure water so that you don't contaminate the next substance that you're going to try. That needs to be stated in your procedure. I think one person actually stated it in their procedure, and I think that was you, correct? Yep. Nobody else did. You need to account for that. The same way that you need to account for how, and a lot of you lost marks for this, I think maybe 2 or 3 of you explained that you had to take the mass of the weigh tray first. And then you had to add the mass of the substance you were looking for to the mass of the weigh tray. And you had to add your powder until the balance actually balanced out, until the scale balanced out. Okay? Otherwise, how is somebody supposed to understand or know that that's what you did if you don't actually list it? Okay? So remember that. If you're rinsing things off in between, sample 1 and sample 2 or whatever, you need to state that that has to be done in your procedure. Otherwise, the person reading it will not, no assumptions are made here that you will have done that. Okay? Just like you need to explain how to do all the tests. It's not enough to say, do all 4 tests. You never, ever write results in your procedure. Results are always presented in table format. Okay? Results are always in a table. And that table always has a title. It is not enough to call it results. What is that table results of? In this case, it's, identifying an unknown substance or identifying acids, bases, and salts or something like that. Okay? Always has a title. And the title has something to do with the actual experiment, please. Okay? Now, where some of you lost marks is that you did not just put results. You actually put some analysis in there. So in the case of taking the pH of those samples, I think, I'll use the example, substance A, had a pH of 8, substance 2 had a pH of 6, and substance 3 had a pH of 1 or 2. And then in brackets, where you went, had you left it at that, awesome. But where some of you went wrong was that you wrote, oh, this is a base, this is kind of neutral, and this is an acid. That's wrong. That is analysis. It does not belong there. Okay? That belongs in your analysis section. You will lose 1 out of 4 marks. If you have a table to make, 1 out of 4 marks if you place analysis in your results table. There's a whole section for that. Okay? Now, analysis. This is where you talk about why you got those results. So this is the place to say that, if it's got a pH of 8, well, I know that, in your head you're like, pH of 8, I know that is basic. All right? Now, are you allowed to use personal pronouns? No. Throughout this whole lab, no personal pronouns. Okay? We got this, I got this, so this must mean if I got this, that is wrong. And you will lose 0.5 every time I see a personal pronoun. Okay? In every section. And that means if there's 6, 7 sections to the scientific method, that's 3.5 marks out of your whole lab exam because you use personal pronouns. That's awful. Don't do it. Okay? So analysis, you are explaining your results. And this is usually where you answer whatever question you're being asked. You normally start off a results or an analysis section by answering the question and then backing it up with your explanations of your results. Okay? You usually explain all the results you got. Not just 2 of them or 3 of them. You must explain every result because it helps back up your actual answer to that question. Okay? And then finally, you've got a conclusion. A conclusion usually has 3 parts. It's usually worth 3 marks. Okay? The first thing you talk about in a conclusion is you restate your aim. The aim of this experiment was to identify whether the substance was an acid, a base, or a salt, I believe was your aim, right, from the last experiment? Okay, that's 1 sentence. Then you have to talk about your results. Okay, you have to restate your results. That's usually 1 sentence. And then finally, the third part is you have potential sources of error. I'm not saying you made those mistakes. I'm saying these are possible mistakes that could have been made, which maybe led to you having whatever results. There's always potential human error in reading things and potential measurement error. There's also potential mechanical error. So some of the tools that you use maybe didn't work. Maybe the balance was off. Maybe the conductivity apparatus wasn't working. Okay, maybe the pH paper or litmus paper was damaged. Who knows? Okay, these are all things that might have gone wrong. Not that they necessarily did. In this case, in the lab you just got back, the conclusion would start off, the aim of this experiment was to identify 3 substances as to whether they were acids, bases, or salts. Results found showed that substance 1 was a base, substance 2 was a salt, and substance 3 was an acid. Okay? And instead of just saying that, I would say substance 1 was a base because phenolphthalein reacted. Substance 2 was a salt because it had a neutral pH, but it was an electrolyte, whatever. Substance 3 was an acid because it reacted to the magnesium. Done. And then potential sources of error for this experiment included potentially not measuring the appropriate amount of substance, cross-contaminating substances in the spot tray, not rinsing off the conductivity apparatus, stuff like that. Okay? That is a conclusion. For steps in your procedure that require repetition, you are colossally wasting your time if you sit there and rewrite it all out. Okay? That's the beauty of a very well-written procedure, is if you are very thorough, all you should have to do is say repeat steps, so number this to number that for the second substance or third substance. You should not ever rewrite your procedure. That is a colossal waste of time. Okay?